Started the recording for configuring Windows. Everybody in? Able to get in without no issues? You see my desktop? So, configuring Windows. Our ultimate goal and objective for here is to be able to describe how you can use the control panel to customize the operating system from a client. Describe the key steps and considerations when configuring Windows for a client, and identifying our common pitfalls that may occur and how to actually solve them. Anyone ever use the control panel itself for anything?
I use it many times.
Yep. It has several applets. Everybody know what an applet is?
Sort of. I couldn't tell you the exact definition, but
It's like the sections in the control panel, like the different kinds of tools it has. I don't know how else to describe it.
It's an application, but it's small. That's why they call it applet. I'm not joking, trying to look it up. An applet is just
like a basic bare bones app.
Yeah, it's a very small bare bones app. Usually there's applets in Mac, Linux systems, and or Windows. All right. It's a really small app. And in these cases, they're usually obviously for administrators or for users to customize their PC and or do stuff, all right? So just to let you know, if you ever hear the word applet, and when they're using that word, it's just a small application. It's majorly what it is. You have internet options in there. You have the display settings. You have the capability of checking the user accounts or the groups, as I stated before. You got your settings for internet, folder options, Windows Firewall we saw in there, your power options, all these features in there, even your device printers. And if you have the actual, instead of work group, if you have a home group, you can define your home groups in there, and network and sharing and device managers. There's obviously a multitude of little applications or applets inside this control panel. Any questions or doubts? Okay, next slide, control panel. Obviously, this is usually the first place you turn to for configuring settings. There is shortcuts to get in there, or you can go straight to the applet that you're looking for. But if you're unsure, you could always open up the actual control panel. Now, the control panel nowadays, I hate it. The way it opens up usually is in a very unfriendly way to me. I'm not a guy who likes this here. I'm used to the old traditional view. Here you would have to go through each and every area or know exactly where you're going. Obviously, for the people that have never seen it, this is much easier for them because they could just go by the actual category. For me, no. One, I'm blind, so I like the large icons. And two, then I can go directly to where I'm going compared to over there. I have to go first click somewhere and then click somewhere else. It's frustrating and it doesn't really help me. Any questions here so far? These are obviously all the various applets. You could even configure your mail. So without opening up Outlook, it'll open up your settings and allow you to actually check your profiles, your data files, and or email accounts configured within it. Anyone ever use Region?
I have.
When you come in here, guys, this was one of the features you may see, especially here, since we deal with Latin America. Region is something that you may be touching with those people out there, because you'll notice that some applications is not working. Why? Because in Latin America, they like to have the day first and then the month. So they might have changed this setting here for the short date or the long date and then the system is expecting to have it in the other format. So you need to make sure, depending on the situation, you might go into region. The same thing with the capabilities of keyboards and or features, they should be in here. Any questions? Your mouse is in here, your fonts. If you want to install more fonts, you can actually install more fonts on your computer. Questions or doubts so far? So, the programs that populate the control panel, as we said, are called applets. It's just a small little program that's defined to do one single task. There are several applets, as we saw, and depending on what you need, you can go in there. As you see, Adobe has QuickTime and or NVIDIA may have their own little applet in there after you install their drivers and or software. Accessing the control panel. Obviously, there's many ways to go into it, depending on the operating system that you're in. Inside the Windows 7 is required for you to actually go and locate it. As in any of them, you could always hit start and just spell the word control, and it should come out on the list. On Windows 8 or Windows 8.1, you either swiped on the top right corner of the screen or use a mouse to activate your little charms. Charms is the beautiful menu in Windows 8. You guys remember? In Windows 10, you could just right click on the start menu and locate control panel off the list. Any questions? So what's easy here though, on top of it, is when you come in here, you also have your other ones in here, your event viewer, your device manager, network connections, all those are here with ease. Question? All right, so as I stated a little while ago, once you're inside the control panel itself, you could actually search on the upper right-hand corner. It has a little handy little search. You could browse by categories, which I hate. I really don't like that feature, but some people love it. And lastly, you can view the actual panel items by large or small icons, depending on how blind or not blind you are. Questions or doubts? Here's the applet views. As we stated, you have your system and security. As you can see, this is a much more robust Windows compared to some of people's Windows. They may not have all of the features in here. If you have the lower ends, they might not have everything. But they do break it up, obviously, by its category. So if you want to go to programs, security, users, appearance, clock, language and region, easy access. Anyone ever use easy access? Or know what it is?
I used to set it up for my grandma.
Yeah. Let's see. Also here, if you'll notice, let me go back to category. You could actually optimize the visual. You could turn on narrator so that it can read the people that are blind, I guess. I'm not sure why they're using Windows. And then turn on audio description when available. You got the magnifier here, as we've seen before. The magnifier will obviously zoom.
Always scan this section.
Oh, that's great. I just turned it on, didn't I? Anyways, any question? I hope he doesn't keep on talking. Doubts? Well, now my PC freeze. Come back.
Always scan this section.
That's funny, man. Give me a second. See what I hear. Any questions on the view by and or the applets so far? You have 8 categories, as we stated a moment ago. You have your system and security, network, internet, hardware, sound, programs, user account and family, appearance and personalization, your clock, your language and or region, and your ease of access. I'm not sure if you guys are fully aware, but you could actually install several languages in here so that I can actually understand the different languages if you're utilizing different languages when typing or doing stuff in your computer. Any questions on these applets areas, the categories so far? So when we come into the actual category view here of system and security, you have your action center. As we've seen before, that should be the little flag that comes up here, which you can review and see what current issues or major updates have to be. You have your Windows firewall in here. As we stated yesterday or the day before yesterday, you can configure your internal firewall. You have your Windows system to be able to obviously allow remote access, rename the computer. You have device manager and other features there. You have your Windows update. That is the feature to turn on and off the actual Windows updates. And you can also, from my understanding, set time and dates for that. You actually have also your power settings, your backup and restore, your BitLocker, and your administrative tools. Any questions? Doubts?
Why is Flash Player 32-bit there?
Flash player, 32-bit?
Yeah.
Good question. Let's go see what it is. See if I have Flash on mine, and you'll see exactly what it is. You'll see that in Flash, you do have some settings for security for it. I'm not sure if you know, if you, Flash can, at one point, be very dangerous inside your actual computer. So there is some stuff that gets stopped and or configured from here, depending what you want to do. Allow sites to save, ask, block all sites from storing information on this computer. You can actually set if it can use your actual mics. It can actually also set the playback. All these are features because Flash, if it prior to this, there was actual Flash inside these websites where obviously the people who are really bored were attacking computers with Flash, using Flash to be able to control the computers and or do stuff in the background. Any questions or doubts on why is here? Any other ones? You have here your BitLocker, so you could actually manage the encryption of the actual drive and turn it on and off depending on your TPM. If you have a TPM or not, then you would probably require an actual extra key to be able to decrypt if you don't have a TPM. Any other questions on our systems and security tab or category? Sorry. Next one is your network and internet. Here's where you can actually mess with your actual home group. If you have a home group, obviously, internet options. You can also mess with your actual sharing, or you can set and look at each and every adapter or device on your computer. Any questions? All right. Next one. On the next one here, we have hardware and sound. So here's where you could actually go in and look at your printers or devices and or change the autoplay. A lot of people start complaining that now when I put in the CD, it doesn't want to play. Obviously, fair warning. If you do turn on autoplay, if any CD that you put, it will try to run it, which is very dangerous depending on the user. Why would it be dangerous to have autoplay on?
Ooh, I found a disc on the floor. Let me pop this in.
Exactly. Same thing with your USBs. Your USBs can do autoplays, so you got to be careful. Those things are not, I mean, they were very helpful back in the day, but unfortunately hackers have gotten so slick with their stuff that it's getting to the point that we can't even do anything on our computers without it being locked down some way or somehow. You have your sound, so you could actually adjust all your sounds. You have your power options, which actually sets it up for you to see if it, when you close the lid, if you have a laptop or depending how many minutes before you walk away, it'll go into screensaver. You could adjust the screen brightness and or how it acts if it's on battery or not. Display is obviously that you could adjust the resolution, connect to the projectors, and or if you have a monitor, an extra monitor attached, you can actually adjust that. Your Windows Mobility Center. Has anybody ever used the Windows Mobility Center? No?
I've seen it before now that I open it, but I just put it down. I don't really use it. It just looks like a whole bunch of functions for your F key, but in a GUI, kind of.
Mm-hmm. This is what it looks like. So with these, I can set up my brightness. If I want the volume to go up or down, if I want to mute it, I can change my actual settings here, disconnect the display, sync settings if I have anything that's syncing, and I can turn on presentation settings from here. That's basically what it is. Any questions or doubts? So if you notice though, not everybody has this, but you'll see that some of them have extra little icons here. Not everybody, if you go to hardware and sound, for instance, on mine, I do not have HP because I don't have an HP, but I do have this one, which is infrared. I can actually set my infrared in sending and receiving files. Questions?
Shouldn't infrared be networking?
Hmm?
Shouldn't infrared be networking since you can network with infrared? I mean, I know it's super slow, but shouldn't it be there?
I think they're just saying how to configure only the hardware of infrared, basically, is what they're talking about. Because there's nothing here that will give you the actual other thing that you're talking about.
And that makes sense then.
There's nothing here for me to configure technically on it. It's just to allow or disallow it from doing stuff. There's no, like in networking, I set up if it's TCP or DHCP, or if it's on static IP, what's my DNS, all those settings on those different cards. Here, obviously, meant for something else. Oops, I just skipped. Category programs. Here, obviously, this is where you uninstall, install. You could turn off and on Windows features. Anyone know or ever use that? So turning on and off Windows features is because usually they just give you so much stuff. So if I want Active Directory, lightweight direct services, LDAP, AD LDAP, right? Or not LDAP, yeah. The directory service, containers. I can install Hyper-V, which I didn't have it, so I installed it. I can install Internet Explorer or disinstall any of these features from Windows. These are all programs that I can install or uninstall. If I want a hypervisor, all this with ease, in case if you guys didn't know this, you can actually uninstall and install features of your Windows.
Can you uninstall Cortana?
I don't know, you can look for it, maybe.
Oh, I'm gonna look for it.
I've tried. I can't.
It's not under media features, maybe? Let's see if she's in. No, that's media player. No.
I heard from other people that it's very difficult to get rid of her. If anything, impossible, because once you get an update, she comes back.
Oh, I'm pretty sure, yeah. Most likely when you get an update, it's probably going to put something right back on there, yeah.
X that keeps coming back.
Yeah. The gift that keeps on giving is what I like to call. So, any questions, doubts? Now, you'll notice here, this has gadgets, but if you go into yours, you most likely won't have gadgets available. We said gadgets was on. Anybody?
7.
Correct. And unless if you want to install it, I strongly recommend not to. It's not going to be in there. And here is where Java is. Why would I want a Java in here and be able to set up Java here?
I guess because it's a program, and it's a very common program for web browsing.
Exactly. So there's configurations in there that I can go and set up for security reasons. I'm surprised it's not in security, but you could, I guess, because you can not only put security reasons, but you can do other stuff with the program in there and set up the program itself. If you're ever having problems with Java working, this is where you would come to try to actually configure and or troubleshoot your issue with Java. Any questions, doubts? User accounts and or family. Obviously, this seems to be a home edition because it's saying family and parental control. If you go into an actual different version, you'll notice I don't have family. I have user accounts, Credential Manager, and mail in here. What is Credential Manager?
Sounds like where they store the username and password.
Yeah. So if you ever have a user who keeps on telling you that they're having problems with their ID and let's say they're going into the intranet and then all of a sudden they keep on saying, hey, I can't get into this internal site. I can't. And they say, I just finished updating my Windows password. Here he is. I don't have it here, but I can actually come in here and remove it. What happens is it actually stores your ID and password into there. And then every time you try to go into a system that requires it, it's giving it the old Windows credentials. The same thing with the web. So if you see that they may have some problems, you can actually remove it and make it log in back again. Any questions, doubts? Here goes my OneDrive credentials. I can actually go in there and remove it. So then it's going to ask me to log on again. If they ever have problems, here's where you would go. Check there first, remove it so the cache is gone, and let them then re-log into the actual, if it's a website or whatever application that's doing that. Any questions on this one? For user accounts, parental controls. What does parental controls allow you to do on your home PC?
I'm gonna guess that it just limits the user and probably has a more detailed control probably.
So let's say I created a user account, which I did for my daughter. And then I could actually set the ESRB rating for her, both for applications and for websites. Everyone know what is ESRB?
Yes. It's like it's rated teen, mature.
Yeah, exactly. So the ESRB ratings, you can actually set it up just like you can do in Comcast and or any of the cable providers to stop it, like in Netflix, this entertainment software rating board will actually give it an EC, an E. You also have it not only for applications, you have it for the webs. If you notice, babies, everyone, all this is in the background. So if a site has a certain rating, they will not be able to go to it. If the application has a certain rating, they won't be able to open it or use it. The same thing, you could also control the time, so the amount of time and or when they log on or off. So even if they're on and it turns 10 p.m. at night or 9 p.m., boom. It doesn't log them off, it just it puts them, like if it locks, it doesn't log them off, it technically locks them out. In other words, it's like if they hit Control-Alt-Delete and hit lock, and then a banner comes up, says, hey, your time is up. You can't be logging in at this time. Same thing in the threshold of the amount of time. If they went over 5 hours and you put 5 hours a day, boom, says time's up. Ask your administrator for more time. Any questions on any of these here? I can change my username, and I'm sorry, my password here. Where's another place that I can change my password? Besides right here in Windows. Anyone? All right. Who has Windows in their computer right now? Everyone except for Pablo, right? Hit Control-Alt-Delete only once. Tell me what you see. What's the window that comes up when you hit Control-Alt-Delete? There should be a blue window that comes up.
On my computer, there's like a red screen that says Task Manager, Switch User, and Log Off.
Should have one more. Well, that all depends. If you have home, it may not have that. You should have.
Switch User, Sign Out, and Task Manager.
Yours doesn't say change password?
No.
Yours is home then, right?
I'm in the same boat. I have the home edition too.
Yeah. You have the actual Pro or a higher edition. In that screen, you should have the ability to actually change your password. Depending on the Windows again. That's the other spot that you can actually go and change your password. Any questions, doubts?
I have a question. What is it called? Control-Alt-Delete. Does it have an official name, or we just call it Control-Alt-Delete?
You're saying what that window is called?
Yeah.
That's a very good question. I've never ever heard of it called anything.
I mean, it's kind of like repetitive. You tell somebody, "Oh, Control-Alt-Delete," rather than saying, I don't know, panic button, like the panic button, or I don't know. Like if I want to say I want to quick launch the Task Manager on the keyboard, I can just do Control-Shift-Exit. That has like, easy meaning, but
Yeah,
I
it
don't know.
doesn't have a name. It brings up a special system control menu. That's all it is. I'm pretty sure if you go, oh, open the special system control menu, everybody's gonna be like,
Okay, that's worse. Okay, we can stay with Alt Control-Delete.
oh, delete, right? I'll stick to that one. The next category view is, if there's no questions on this one, is your appearance and personalization. Inside your appearance and personalization, you'll see here, depending on yours, each one, as I stated, you'll see here, this one has a much more robust compared to mine. This has the display in there and all that features, but mine does not. Hence why I hate the categories. You'll see in this one, personalization is completely different from them. Well, this is obviously what? If it has this, I could just wild guess either they installed it or they have which windows that they're showing me here. I'm pointing at it. Desktop gadgets. So,
It's Windows 7.
right? Most likely Windows 7, unless if they went and installed something in there. But if you'll notice, I do not have display in here. This is why I hate the categories. It all depends on which Windows you have. It changes these features here. So I rather have the large icons and let me just go straight to where I want to go. So in here, you'll have the personalization. You're able to personalize your actual, like we said, your actual theme and or change the resolution, your screensaver. You can go and mess with your gadgets, add or remove. You can actually customize your taskbar and or start menu. Your ease of access is here and your folder options. So you could actually decide here where to specify if it is hidden files or any of that. Does anybody know where in Windows 10 this is actually with ease? I can actually set that up. It's no longer really there, and why it's not there? Anyone?
Which one you're looking for?
Folder.
For hidden folder? You can just go to Explorer, and you have the option to click or unclick hidden or not hidden files.
So here's my Windows Explorer, right? When I come
Yeah,
up,
go to View.
and you'll see that I have extra large icons, and I can say hidden items, file extension, and view that. I could also click on options for those people that love this Windows better and do it through here. I can set up single click. If it's going to open a brand new window every time I browse new folders, and it has a plethora of things that you can turn off and on. Any questions, doubts? I like to have this little thing in the back because I like to be able to read the whole file, but usually Windows goes like this and doesn't show you. So if I want to rename it, it's not going to let me change the file type. It only lets me rename the actual name of the file. Any questions, doubts? So in here also, you're able to customize, as I said, your folder options and your fonts. Those are all the features in here. I would play around with that on your own leisure time to look at it and see what exactly it does and what I can do in there.
I notice it's repeating some stuff. Like I see displays there again. Is it different in the category compared to I think it was
Same one.
security?
Display.
Oh, so they're just repeating it.
You're saying on the security tab?
It's security tab or is it?
Oh,
No, I don't think security tab. I think it's actually a hardware.
that's why I don't like the little things.
Oh, sorry. It repeats.
Yeah, because it's appearance and personalization at this point. The other one is to adjust the hardware itself, although it's the same exact menu. I agree with you. But obviously here, since it is appearance and personalization, they added again here. If you'll notice though, personalization is not on the hardware tab. Shouldn't be, not that I ever remember that in here. Only display. Question? Doubts? Next one, your clock and region. You can set your time zone. You can set an time and date, depending on which one it is. And for those that deal with Latin America or other countries, it allows you to add different time zones. So with ease on your actual computer, you will be able to see those different time zones. So let's see if I can do this guy and apply. Apply. Should be able to see it here. You'll see here. See, you see there where it says Wednesday, 2:57 a.m. My local time is 10:57 a.m. And then my other time zone that I added is there, Wednesday, 2:57, which is a -12. Any clock? Any clocks? Any questions or doubts on the clock? All right. Region and language itself is that, as I stated before, you could actually change your date and time formats. You can install or uninstall the display languages, and you can actually change the location that you're in. So if you're not in the United States, you're in Thailand, you can put yourself in Thailand, Uruguay, any of these, even Vatican City, apparently. Any questions? Next slide, your ease of access. In the ease of access, obviously, this is more for people that require ease of access. You won't be going here that much that I'm aware of. I can't think of many times that you will be messing with this, unless if you actually want to start speech recognition, which is people that can't type, I guess, want to do that. You're going to then have to actually, if you use that, it's going to ask you to read a whole bunch of sentences so it can configure itself and understand your accent. I'm not trying to make fun of anybody, but that's what it's trying to do. It's trying to obviously teach the AI to understand you based on a set sentences that it already knows what you should be reading. Therefore, if you're reading it exactly verbatim, it should understand what you're saying.
I find it funny because to this day, even though I tell Google multiple times, okay, Google, it will never work.
Well, you got to be thankful. Hopefully you turn that off. You do realize, okay, Google or hey Siri means that it's listening.
Yeah, no, I know it is, but the reason why it bothered me is because I'm trying to set it up for my grandma.
Oh, okay.
And it just doesn't want to understand me at all. It seems like voice recognition struggles with me.
Alexa allows you to change how to call her. I'm not sure if Google allows you to change the way you can call them so it can understand you.
It's just my accent. It doesn't understand me. I tried other programs. They can't understand my accent at all. I'm in that unique category of computer can't understand me.
You
And I
sure?
can be there for
They're
10
not
minutes.
talking to each other and warned each other about you.
Look, I'm just happy now that I learned security. It's a good thing. If they can't recognize me. If I say it just thinks it's the word or something. I don't know. Everything's wrong.
I think they're all out to get you, man. They've actually spread out the actual rumor about you, and they're fully aware of who you are. I think they're that smart. That's what it is. After what you did to that poor little CPU.
Oh, come on. No. I don't have a computer hit squad on me or anything like that.
All right, let's go into the large mode here so we can see all of them. We should know A through Q. So internet options. Can somebody guess what that would help me do from what I've stated so far?
General settings, security, connections.
So basically, if you go in here, you'll be able to actually configure your Internet Explorer. Believe it or not. It's the same as going into your actual Internet Explorer and going into the options of it. So if I go into my control panel, and then I go into create categories now. Into Internet options, you'll notice that it is the Explorer's Internet properties. Mine's obviously locked down, you see it? You can set what's the actual start page, if you want more than one tab, your security settings, your privacy, content, connections. This is where you can actually add a dial-up VPN settings here. You could also set your proxy settings in here if you have proxy. And how programs work and your features within it. So if you ever have problems with it, your Internet Explorer not working, this is where you would go. Oh, let's go focus on each of these here. Internet options. We said the configuration settings of internet options will provide several internet connectivity possibilities. You have your general tab, as I showed you. You have your security, your privacy settings within there. Let's open it back up one by one. And then you have the actual connections. You could also obviously set up here if you want to delete the browser's history on exit, or you can actually delete it all. You can say how much it will cache the information, if it's automatically or never, or every time you start Internet Explorer, it will start storing it again. You can say how many days, and your caches is this here. What's cache?
Save data, but very, very specific.
It's the saved data of the actual website's current status of where you were inside that actual site. A lot of times also is what is used so that if you're already logged in, you'll notice that when you come in, all of a sudden Google recognizes you here, and when you go to Gmail or Google Calendar, you're already logged in. That's because of the cache. Otherwise, I would have to actually re-log in every single time. There's good and bad, obviously, in that, right? Display and display settings, which is the next one. This is obviously where it allows you to, as I said, adjust your screensavers, colors, your resolution, the color depth, your refresh rate, famous or infamous refresh rate. Everybody remember him? So if that screen starts skipping, just go in there. Most likely that user did something to the refresh rate if it obviously continues to skip. User accounts. That's obviously where you go and you manage all of the users, all of your different groups, if you have groups. And in this case, it also has parental controls if you do have, obviously, parental controls in the home edition. Any questions and or doubts? So let me see if this thing lets me open it. Yeah, there we are. Here's your user accounts. You can actually see that it has an administrator. It's not, that's a great thing. It's not what? Seems to be not what? One bad thing about this. Anybody want to tell me? From what we learned yesterday or the day before yesterday, what should this be? Anyone? He should be disabled. Administrator, the account, the username should be disabled. And this guy here, who is obviously the other real administrator, should be the only one that's enabled. I should not have this guy available. He should be not deleted, but disabled. Next one, folder options. As we stated earlier, that's where we can view, hide extensions, general options, and view the actual options within the folder settings for Windows File Explorer. Questions, doubts? As for the system one, the system utility here is one of the ones that you will be using a lot. You have ease of access to going to remote settings, system protection, advanced system properties, and or device manager. You can actually change your computer name, your domain, and everything from this area. It also tells you what's your product ID. Tells you which is your operating system. You also have access to your security and maintenance from here. So inside advanced system settings, where'd it go? Here we are. Here's my computer description. Actually change which domain I am. So if I want to leave the domain and go into a work group, I can actually do all of that from here. Questions, doubts? Let's say in here in system properties, if I have a problem with a user, I can actually come in here and see the actual profiles. I can make a copy of the whole profile, or I can actually delete the whole profile. Questions or doubts?
This is all under what tab?
This was when I went into, let me bring it back up, into this guy here. It's under advanced system settings, and it'll open up your properties.
Okay.
For those that know how to mess with this, all these in here are your different system variables and or features. So this one, I don't have system restore. So I can't restore from a previous versions on this, but you should be able to. You can also allow remote assistance. Anybody know who remote assistance is? Similar to RDP, or not RDP, similar to NetApp, TeamViewer, and a lot of these things where you kind of send a little invite. You can send it by email, or you can actually just send the link to the people, and they'll be able to remote connect to your computer as if they were in front of the computer. And they'll be able to see everything. You can allow them to control things and everything. Any questions, doubts? We're okay? All right. Windows Firewall is the same as obviously what it applies is to allow you to configure the software-based firewall on your actual system. This won't control the network per se. It's only going to control your device and how it interacts with the network. So in other words, if somebody else wants to go to port 80 and you have blocked on your computer port 80, that other computer is not blocked because this is only internally for your computer blocking port 80 versus an actual hardware appliance firewall, which would be in line, would obviously stop you from going out. Questions or doubts? Your power options, here's where you can actually hibernate, sleep, suspend your power plans, and standby. Anybody know what is hibernate?
Hibernate is when the computer decides to save the RAM into disk and shut down. So when you start it, it will read that little part where the disk is, where they have the RAM, and there will be like a very quick boot.
Similar to a quick boot. And then, but does the computer stay on?
No, it turns off.
So yeah, so the difference between sleep, suspend, and hibernate, as he just stated, is actually you have to be very, very careful in using hibernation. Hibernation requires disk space, as he just stated. It actually grabs the current state of Windows, everything that's in the RAM, everything that's open, and everything that's on your hard drive, and it saves it to part of your hard drive. So that, as he stated, when you turn it on, it'll bring it back as if you didn't turn off the computer and it was on sleep mode. It does not close any of the windows. It doesn't close any of the applications that you have in there. It makes an actual replica of everything that's in there. Very, very good feature. And unfortunately, I think most of the new Windows don't have it by default. because obviously people were using it with not enough hard drive space. Any questions or doubts on either Hibernate, Sleep Suspend, your power plans, or your standby? Anybody know what's the variance between standby and sleep?
I thought they were the same. There's differences.
Does sleep save more energy?
Hmm?
Does sleep conserve more energy?
I believe so. Sleep does, obviously, but there's just a very small variance in between the two of them. And in some operating systems, it's basically almost the exact same thing, nothing really different. The major thing we do need to know is obviously is that the hibernation and standby slash sleep really and standby, you're still eating up the actual energy or very little power, versus on hibernation it completely turns off. And in standby or in sleep mode, sometimes in the sleep mode you have to like maybe touch the little power button or just move the mouse depending on the amount of time before it went into sleep, and it takes literally seconds. It's almost like close to being instant on. But the variance is, I believe, if I remember, on hibernation, obviously, it's going to require for it to boot. So it's going to be taking almost, it could take anywhere from a minute to 3 minutes, depending how big that hibernation file is for it to come up. So if you look at a Mac, I believe Mac does not differentiate between standby and sleep. They're exactly the same thing. Any questions? Doubts? Okay.
We're good.
Programs and features, formerly known as add and remove programs. God only knows. Obviously, here is where it allows you, as I stated a little while ago, to actually add features from Windows or add programs to Windows, right? As we saw earlier, the Windows features are all the features that Windows have, but it doesn't install all the features, and it allows you with ease to be able to add whatever feature you want of Windows, depending on the actual Windows operating system that you have installed. Versus the add and remove program, it does that exactly. It actually adds or remove a program from your computer. Has nothing to do directly with Windows. So, for instance, VirtualBox, your McAfee, antivirus, you can add or remove that from add or remove programs. Questions or doubts on programs and or features? Next one. Your applets, utilities, and what they do. Your home group is not available, obviously, in Windows Starter. As we said, that's the most simple, only 32-bit. What it does, though, it obviously allows you to share files and libraries, printers, and stuff like that with your home group. Very, very similar to a work group, but it's not. Device and printers, obviously, that allows you to actually manipulate your printers, adjust the settings on it, your print queue itself. You can manage your print queue You can actually change the drivers on it if you want, and or manipulate what ports it's on. Any questions on devices and printers applet? Your sound applet, I'm pretty sure all of you have seen this one. That allows you to play with the speakers and or settings of the mic and output devices, depending what you have. Your headset or speaker or whatever it is that you're using. Troubleshooting. This applet obviously is a simple interface to resolve common issues that may arise. So it goes when you hit troubleshooting and it starts searching and looking and trying to get the and diagnose any problems that it may be having. Any questions? Doubts? So, next one. Network and sharing is obviously a centralized location for sharing most tools dedicated creating, managing both the wireless and the wired network itself. You can actually go in there and choose your actual wireless or wired network and change that in there. Your device manager allows you to actually control your devices and or look at any problems that you may have with a given device. So if I come into my device manager, that's not it. Where's the device manager? Where's this hidden? Let's just say here. Let me try and go back over here. Device manager. I open it this way. I remember it's pretty easy this way. MMC. Similar to an MMC, but this is his own built-in MMC. In here, let's say if I would have had a problem, it would actually automatically stretch it out and put either a question mark or an exclamation mark on any of the given things that I may have problems with. So here's where you could actually come in here. So if you install something brand new and it doesn't see it, you can actually scan for hardware changes and make it look for it. Or you can actually add a legacy hardware yourself manually. If plug and play doesn't want to work. Any questions? Doubts? The Credential Manager, as we stated a moment ago, that's where you can actually save all of your credentials that are stored for Internet Explorer or Windows itself. Your BitLocker is basically to be able to configure BitLocker and to encrypt your drives. And lastly, your Sync Center, that's the applet that allows you to actually sync to offline files if you have offline files from the server. So let's say I have a whole bunch of files that I don't want to store because we're actually sharing it on the server, but I also want to be able to use it at home without having to connect to the network. And that's what Sync Center allows you to do. And it also allows you to sync between mobile devices. Questions or doubts? All right, we'll be opening it up now. You can start navigating within your computer, verify each and every one. You and your partners can play. Team 1. Who's our new fearless leader? Then let's see which other one. If I'm having problems with users I want to check the users itself. Where can I go?
User
Can
account.
you repeat that? I couldn't hear you.
I'm in problems with the users. Where would I go to go and check on a user? A Windows
Your
user.
account?
Correct. How about if I want to check the whole profile, the actually profile and the files within that little thing that's hidden somewhere? Anybody remember where it is? I want to check the actual Windows, actual. Anybody remember that one? So if I want to go and change or not change, if I want to go and view all the profiles, let's say it's for some weird reason, maybe they removed it from the domain and then maybe they put it back on the domain or something's wrong with the user and or I want to make a copy of the actual profile. How can I make a copy of it? That might be a bigger hint of where I need to go. I want to see the size of the user's profile and I want to make a copy of the user's profile in Windows.
Credential Manager? If I want to make a copy of the credentials? Sorry, I can't hear you well. Can you say it again?
I want to look at the user's profile per se, the actual profile, not the account. You could, at the user's profile itself, and maybe I want to make a copy of the whole profile, or maybe I just want to delete the whole profile. I'm running out of space. That guy's been gone for the whole longest time, and he's no longer working in here. I made a copy. It's on the backup of the server, but I want to delete the whole user's profile. Where do I go?
User
accounts?
profile?
If I go to user accounts, where now?
User profile.
User profile off of the control panel? Where's user profile?
It's going to be under config advanced user profile properties. And it gives you an overview of what they're using, what they have, and depending on what you have, you can control with that, I think.
Can I delete it?
You could disable it. You can't delete it, right?
Not from there. So I think we're in the wrong spot. It was somewhere I showed you guys a little while ago where that is hidden. Let me open up my control panel again.
We can't see your screen if you're trying to show us.
That's a great. Thank you. Try this one more time. There you are. Should be coming up now. Somewhere inside my control panel, I can go and check each and every user profile. I could also set up my system performance. I can set up in there the page file settings in there, I believe. I can also configure the computer's name or change if it's on a work group or not. Anyone? I could also do the DEP, the data execution prevention. Hint, 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 hint.
Is it
Oh,
system?
system.
Yes. Here it is. I could change the name of the computer and everything. And if you go to your advanced system settings, it should open up your system properties window. And here is where I have my actual user profiles so that I can actually delete, make a copy, depending obviously on your rights. I don't have rights on my computer, so therefore I can't do it. And it has a default profile usually in here so that you know what to use for everybody that's in there, or for Windows to know what to use for everybody that usually logs in, anybody new. Questions, doubts? Let me see if I have anything else that I can come up with here. I guess not, because home group is only really for home group. But what does home group do for the Windows Home?
It helps make a quick and simple intranet for users, and you can basically just share specific things, usually music, or you can describe it to do libraries, etc.
Exactly. It's easy access for sharing with everybody in your house or home group per se. Any questions, doubts on that? Is home group on a Windows Professional?
No.
Correct. Although that doubt was in there, but yes, you are correct. I would have either a work group or a domain. Because Windows Professional only has either a work group or a domain. What's the variance between a work group and a domain?
I guess it would be scalability, and also the fact that you can probably add a server on a work group, like a Active Directory, versus a domain, which is just there's no real server. Everybody's equal.
You're backwards, actually, unfortunately.
Oh, it's backwards.
Yeah, a domain requires you to be on a domain, on a Windows domain. You need a Windows Active Directory domain server to log on. The work group does not require you to have a server at all. It's just a group that works together, is the way I like to say it, so I can remember. So your work group allows all those computers that are in the same work group to be able to see each other, but it doesn't mean that you can actually log on to the computer. You can see it, but if you don't have the credentials to go in, you won't be able to. The work group also shouldn't be more than 20 computers, because as we stated before, if you have more than 20 computers, being able to put the exact same ID and password in each and every single PC is going to be really tedious for you to manage as an administrator. This would be for obviously very small companies that don't have a centralized server, as you stated earlier, and that is the reason why it's there. It's basically a collection of computers in any LAN. Any questions or doubts? So if I didn't have a server or anything like that, and I wanted to create work groups, I might create one work group IT, one work group marketing, one work group human resources, another work group. So that way, only those specific work groups will be able to see each other. If obviously I'm in that given situation. Once again, shouldn't go over 20. Because then you're already getting into server mode. You should be somehow authenticating to a server. Questions or doubts? So we've learned obviously that having a strong growth mindset can help an IT professional be successful, as we said many times, right? This is obviously especially true becoming skilled in configuring Windows. You're gonna have to be able to have that little growth mindset on, because configuring Windows requires a lot of thought, and it may take a long time for beginners to become experts. Don't think that you're gonna be an expert from one day to another. Some people, it just comes in with ease and it's self-explanatory just by reading it and very fast. But most of it, you can work your way through it if you read the control panel and or with common English, obviously, determine which one you're going to go into. And you can obviously go in and out and work with the different areas to get more familiar with it. But obviously, beginners have to read every single option. It's not like me where I went and threw that little curveball on you. I knew exactly where the user's profile is because I've deleted several users' profiles. And I've had to work with actually repairing users that have lost connection to Active Directory. That gets a lot of problems to those users because then all you see is just a SID ID. I don't know if you know what a SID ID is, but it's a humongous thing that looks like a MAC address almost. And that is your security identifier of either the computer or of your ID, of your Active Directory ID, depending on where you are or what you're talking about. Any questions or doubts before we proceed? Okay. All right. Next one, you can just drop. Here is your MMCs that are built in, depending on which one. Obviously, they're all self-explanatory if you look at it, but this is the command. In other words, if I come in here and I type, let's see one of them that I might have, services. If I go to services.msc, notice he's automatically what? Pointing me to where to go. And it should open up the services. Oops, down here. Now, as I stated before, the MMC, open up, is another way to get in, and you can actually add your own little applets to each one. You can actually add each and every one of these. Any questions or doubts? This is a plethora of things here. You have AD domains, your Active Directory. This is depending, again, on the flavor of Windows that you have. Doubts? Questions? Right. Cautions and considerations. As we said, the best way to prevent catastrophic issues, obviously, is the UAC. We mentioned this before we even got there. The higher it is, the more restrictive it is, and it allows you to actually stop things from happening versus if you lower it all the way, then obviously it will allow anything to happen. Most issues, though, if you have it, only if you have it, you can actually revert to previously restore points of known good boots. And obviously, make sure you have a planned backup. Always have a backup of people's information. A lot of these things also come now where you can actually back up to a centralized server and the user is oblivious of what's going on and it would actually do it automatically. That is, again, these are features that are on the high-end enterprise mode. You can actually add other software out there, third-party software, to be able to copy the user's profile. Any questions or doubts? UAC, as we stated before, if it requires you to log on, it will ask you for the password, and then you put your password and you hit yes. That basically is just to restrict from unwanted stuff to be installed on your computer. Questions? Doubts? Next one. Now, to avoid the common mistakes of when making the actual Windows configuration changes, restricting access to major changes include restricting the user account. So any standard user shouldn't be able to go in there. This is obviously in a company environment. You want to make sure that these people are not allowed. By default, the actual applets will show to anyone with administrative privileges. So if he's part of the administrators group, he should be able to see this. If users need to retain their admin rights but do not have the right to make changes, either the whole control panel is hidden or just specific actual applets. And your group policy editor or your GP edit MSC will allow you to actually do that. Anybody ever use a group policy editor?
Nope.
Group policy editor is obviously to control the machine. Let's say, if, like me, you see that I keep on trying to go places and it says, hey, you. No, your domain administrator is not allowing you. So what happens is that each and every group policy overwrites another one. So you have a local group policy and you have a domain group policy. Therefore, if I start messing with it or somehow I'm able to change things, the moment I log on and see the domain, it will overwrite everything that's on my PC. This is how you control where users can go and what they can do inside the actual PC. That's what the group policy editor will do. So here's my local group policy editor. As you see, I don't have the domain, but you'll see that I could actually change stuff for Windows settings if I had the right to view it. I can change configuration settings for actual, but I don't have admin rights. Depending on what you have, you'll be able to see. So you could actually prohibit access control. See, I can come in here, edit this, and prohibit people from actually going into the actual control panel. I can enable it and hit OK, and then nobody will be able to go into that, unless if they had admin rights, obviously. Questions or doubts? There's a lot of settings and security features that you can set up in here. Okay? Yes? No? Maybe? So? Next. As you see here, that's where they said where we went earlier. We went into the actual user configuration, not the computer configuration, control panel, and I prohibited access to the control panel. Questions, doubts? Cute. Now it's like happiness. I'm happy. 89. I don't know what we get 89 people.
Maybe it means in total.
No, 87. See? It looks like people have been maybe going in and out of it. Right now, there's only 9 in here, but in total, 89 people have logged in, I guess, into this thing before. Whatever. Questions, doubts? Number 1. What applet can be used for managing brightness, HDD spin, automatic sleep shutdown, battery actions, your UPS, uninterrupted power supply, automatic hibernation? Is it my power options, my device and printers, my display settings, or my device manager? Which one allows me to do all that?
Power options.
I'm sorry?
Power options.
Okay. Gotta vote for power options. Everybody agree?
I vote for power option 2.
Right? It's the one that sounds like it. If it said only managing brightness and setting resolution, would it still be power options?
No, I would have said display
Yeah,
settings.
it would have been display settings.
Yeah, there we go. We got to be careful when we read these questions. We don't go too fast because they may try to trick us. Make sure we read the whole question. Good catch. Thank you. Next one, which applet can be used to solve a failed network connection? Would it be internet options, Windows Firewall, or device and printers, or lastly, troubleshooting? Which applet would actually help me solve a failed network connection out of the 4? Would internet options let me fix a network connection? Yes, no? Internet options.
Troubleshooting?
There we go. Yeah, that sounds like it, right? Because internet options only lets me configure the Internet Explorer, right? Windows Firewall will just basically go and stop ports. Doesn't have anything with the failed connection. It doesn't say that I can't get to certain sites. It just says the whole network is connection failed. And devices and printers will only let me check my devices and or printer. Does devices and printer have my network card? You'll see here now. Not my device manager, device and printers. Obviously, that's probably category for my luck. Anybody see it before I went in there? Here we are. Your devices and printers. See here are all my devices.
We can't see it.
Oh, thank you. Once again, Diego, thank you for sharing your screen. There we are. You'll see here, I have no view of my network card. These are just the devices and or printers that I have here. I have my mouse, speaker, my monitor, keyboard, all of these features here. But I can't go and mess with my network. Next question. Which applet lets you to change security based on location, privacy, cookies, pop-up blocker, private browser settings, content, family safety, SSL certificates, connections, VPNs, and proxies, programs, default browsers, and plugins, etc.? Would it be my user accounts? Would it be internet options? Would it be my Windows Firewall or network and sharing center? So which one do you guys believe would allow me to change the security based on a location, privacy, cookies, pop-up blockers, private browsing settings?
What were the options again? I'm not near my computer.
I'm sorry?
I was saying, what were the answer options again? I'm not near my computer right now.
It's user accounts is the first one. Internet options is the second one. Windows Firewall is the third one. And lastly, network and sharing center. Which one will let
Internet,
you? I'm sorry?
internet options.
Okay, everyone agree?
Sure.
Yes, it is. You remember, I also said proxies was in there, and to set your VPN is in there in your internet options. Which applet can manage Windows Explorer clicks, folders, views, and reset settings, as well as indexing and searching configurations for Windows Explorer? Would it be A, programs and features, B, device manager, C, folder options, or D, system?
See?
Everybody agree? C, folder options? Will let me do that? Want to manage, if it's single click, double click, I want to manage the folders, the views of them, reset it,
Oh, yeah.
things back to default. All right. Yes, I would have to agree. Folder options is the one. Last one. Which applet gives you computer information, OS versioning, and service pack, your system ratings, your memory, your computer name, your work group or domain name, and the Windows activation information?
System.
Yeah.
That is correct. Thank you. And that was it, folks. That is it, folks. Any questions or doubts so far on this one?